Everyone is buying and selling their vehicle at tradeandpaper.com.
We needed more room. I sold my Mini Cooper and bought a minivan at tradeandpaper.com for free.
I couldn't believe it. I found a new car in 5 minutes at tradeandpaper.com.
This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
I put a list of all of the post office, the proposed closings, on my blog at 700WLW.com. All of them across the country. You can look by state. About 1,200 in Ohio will go away. 3,600 nationwide. But you can look them up for yourself. My blog, 700WLW.com. I got an email from Bob who said, I heard a USPS, United States Postal Service, spokesperson say words to the effect of, if people want us to survive, they need to stop emailing everything and use regular mail. He said, that's ridiculous. It's like saying, hey, stop using light bulbs. We candle makers are getting killed out here. You're killing us. That's a great point. Well, it'd be like saying, if you really want those wagon wheel makers to survive, you got to stop using that horseless carriage. We're dying here. Or the carrier pigeon trainers saying, we need jobs too. Will you stop using those telephones? The phonograph. We need jobs. We make phonographs. If you want us to sell and make phonographs, then stop using anything else that you could record and listen back to music or audio. How about the Caveman Carriers of Heavy Objects Union saying, what are we going to do if you keep using that wheel? We're dying here. You're killing us. Stop using technology. It's ridiculous. The technology is out there. We should embrace it and use it, not run from it. Your thoughts and calls about the post office coming up in just a couple of minutes. I want to get to Sharon Smigalski and Stefan. I'm not even going to try. Sharon, what's your last name?
Smigalski.
Oh, I got it right. Oh, sure. I should have ran with it. And Stefan, what's your last name?
Spinoza.
Stefan. All right. I'm just going to say Sharon and Stefan from
That
ODOT.
works.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Great.
I want to have you guys on to talk about some of the different projects that people should be aware of, some of the changes with, construction. You've got some that are wrapping up and some that are going to start. The I-75 project is just about done?
The I-75 work in Butler County is nearly complete, yes.
That's the one that goes from all the way up to Middletown?
Yes, it goes from Cincinnati-Dayton Road to State Route 122 in Middletown, and then we have a second project that goes from 122 to the Warren-Montgomery County line.
There's going to be a lot of people happy to hear that wrapped up. Mm-hmm. That's it gets a little bit tricky, and you slow down through there during rush hour. That's pretty rough. What are some of the other ones that you have that are going to be wrapping up, and some other ones that are going to be starting? What do we need to be aware of?
Okay, again, the work in Warren County, the I-75 reconstruction and widening, they're finishing up the work on southbound I-75. That's where work has been performed this season. And by the end of this construction season, around November, they should have the asphalt surface course applied as well as permanent striping and traffic back on southbound 75. So traffic should run fairly smoothly through that section of 75.
Did I see you have a project starting on 71 with the bridge just north of 275 there? It's a big bridge there. Do you have
the Jeremiah Morrow Bridge? That work started last summer. Yes, that work is underway right now. Were
one of those One Direction going to close, and then they were going to go on?
No. This week we have inspection work going on. So the equipment required to perform those inspections required a lane closure. So
it's not. But one of the lanes one way is not going to close anytime soon. You're not doing anything there like that dramatic, are you?
Well, this week we do have lane closures on the bridge, yes, for the to accommodate the equipment.
No, I mean like in the next year, you don't have any plans to do anything there, do you?
No, just temporary closures, but no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I thought I had heard that. I have a theory that the real reason you do the work is simply you don't have any place to store those barrels, so you just keep moving them around. Is there any truth to that?
No, there isn't.
nothing like that.
This work on 75 is to ease congestion, enhance safety, and increase regional mobility. So it's and the pavement's old. It's worn out. It's just like anything that gets constant wear and tear, it wears out and needs to be replaced. So
I think we recognize that. There's certainly a lot of repair work that needs to be done. In fact, a friend of mine was complaining to me last week that I think it was 71. She comes up from Cincinnati proper to our office here. That's exit 12 off of 71. And she said that there's some serious potholes out there. She's like, it's summertime. How come they haven't been fixed yet?
Our crews are out when they're when we get word of a pothole. We send our maintenance crews out and they get it fixed as quickly as they can. So call our offices. We'll send a crew out there to get it fixed.
Has there been any cutbacks with filling those potholes? I know that's been a criticism, not having the budget. You're still out there doing them. There's just as many people.
We're still doing pothole work. That's again a safety issue, and we address that issue as quickly as we learn of it. Is it
prioritized by the worst ones get fixed first, or you're just out there constantly?
We're out there on an as-needed basis, right? And the work on the interstate usually takes place in Hamilton County during the night hours from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. for safety and for safety reasons, and there's just less traffic on the roadway.
Sure. Yeah, I told my friend, though, I said, if those potholes exist, I think if I'm ODOT at this point, you've already crossed that halfway point in summer, I think I may just try to stick it out and then say, oh, there you got the bad weather again. It's, you know what I'm saying? You crossed that halfway part.
When we learn of the potholes, we fix them as quickly as we can.
All right, very good. Any other big projects or changes we need to be aware of so we're not caught by surprise if we're heading out and about driving around?
Well, we also have the project on I-75 by Mitchell Avenue interchange. That's just started in the last month, and that's the second phase of work to start for the Mill Creek Expressway project, which is widening and reconstructing I-75 from the
it's the Western Hills Viaduct.
Paddock to
the Western Hills Viaduct.
Western Hills Viaduct, right.
All right, very good. Well, I appreciate you guys laying out the information. It's always nice to keep up to date on what's going on. A lot of us, if we're sitting in traffic on the stuff, you start feeling frustrated if you don't know how long that's going to be going on, and it certainly sucks if you're caught by surprise. You didn't know it was coming up.
A good source of information is our www.buckeyetraffic.org. We have all of our construction projects listed on that, not only in our area in Southwest Ohio, but throughout the state. So if people are traveling to other areas of Ohio, they can get on that and see what road construction projects are in place.
Is ODOT behind the road construction on Route 28 in Claremont County near I'm trying to think what exit that is. There's the Route 28 Express, and then there's the business district right there that's looks like repaved or maybe sewer or something going. Is that you, or is that
the business district area? Is the Claremont County project. We've had some involvement just because of the funding, but that project's being run by Claremont County.
All right, I got to talk to Claremont County. That is a debacle the way the lanes are going. It is so confusing, which lane you have to go down. I've seen people going the wrong direction. In like 20 minutes, I saw a couple of cars heading the wrong direction, and head on. Gonna run into somebody, so I'll make sure to address that with Claremont County. But thanks so much. It's Sharon and Stefan from ODOT. Thank you very much.
Great.
You're welcome.
And I'll put a link to the information she shared on my blog at 700WLW.com. Let's talk a little more about the post office. Jim, downtown, how are you?
Hi, how you doing, Doc? I don't, we lose money on the police department. We lose money on the Army and Navy and Marines. We lose money on the fire department. And we have to keep the post office going and lose money on that. That is a basic public service. What we're doing is let these greedy banksters at Goldman Sachs and who own the Fed, even though the government did delegate to the Fed the right to run our money for some insane reason, we're letting them strangle this country and turn us into a third world country. And this is why the Boehner, Obama, Reid thing is such a tedious. They're not asking the right question. The Republicans should say, let's fire the Fed, which they could do, and put up a national credit office where Congress issues its own money in the light of day. But we got to keep basics. We can't let these greedy Rothschild, Rockefeller banksters turn us into a third world country. We only have mail delivery once a week.
Now, I do have questions, certainly, about the Fed. First of all, it's in secrecy. You're right. I think there's a better way to do it. I'm not a fan of the Fed. But, Jim, I got to take some exception to what you said about we lose money on the military. They provide a service. We're not What do you mean losing money?
Well, I mean, it's a loser. When you look at what we're spending on the military, we don't make any money back for having these soldiers overseas and these wars going on. The same thing goes for the post office. Again, you're not going to, if you don't make money, the post office was never set up as a business. It was set up to make our communications first class, which I think it still is. I think the post office still does a tremendous job. And I'm a conservative, but I've never had this terrible experience regularly with the post office some people talk about. But even if we lose money, it is essential we keep first-hand communications and mail delivery every
Jim,
day.
well, first of all, we have first-hand communications. Email. And we have private companies that are doing it right now. See, you're comparing the military and the post office, and there's no comparison there.
Well,
the military provides a service; they protect the country. And maybe 100 years ago, the post office was an integral part of communication because there was no wireless communication, no television, radio. The only thing out there was word of mouth. Print newspaper, which was still hand delivered or hand gotten. Yeah, you would go somewhere, and the post office. That was it. That was your forms of communication. Well,
but when I mail a letter, Doc, when I mail a letter, I don't want FedEx or any other private company to have the discretion to open it, to block it if they don't like it with this area.
How do they have the discretion and the post office doesn't?
Well, the post office could, I guess, if we became a tyranny, but they never have. The post office.
Well, they could do that. I get letters that are, it got handled, it's ripped. I've gotten those before. I get all that. Jim, they could do any of that stuff, and they certainly have discretion if they believe that it is something dangerous. The post office could do that.
That's true. I agree with you. I'm just.
Why are you so? I don't understand why you're so afraid of business. I understand. I'm
not afraid of it, but there are certain things that are public. For instance, the issue of our money. That's a thing that should not be done by a private entity, even if the government, even if the Congress delegates it. That's too important, but it has to be done in the light of day. I look at the post office. I see you do not, and I can respect your opinion. I just look at the post office as closer to the military than to FedEx as far as a public service.
And even if they were, like I said, even 50 years ago, we had telephones. I mean, we had all kinds of stuff, and that severely diminished the need for the post office. But now, Jim, we can do teleconferencing. We could talk to people on the moon in an instance. We could talk to people in Russia. I mean, we can do all of this stuff. The need for them, you count your mail, go home, and look at it over the course of a couple of months, and you tell me what percentage of that stuff do you actually need, number one, and number two, what percentage of that stuff could you get rid of if you simply did it online? Now, maybe you choose not to do that, and that's fine. But I'm down to maybe a piece of mail a month that I need. You just don't need it. So why is that part of the government now? For those people who need or want to have the ability to send something like that, there are private companies that will do that already. You can send a letter. You could send it via FedEx or whatever. And as far as them being able to look at it and post office can't, if that is a real concern of you, then start a company that says, I will deliver mail privately like FedEx and that, but I guarantee as part of our charter that I will never open your mail or look at it. Make that part of your cornerstone. Never thought that was a big issue. I don't know if that's a little bit conspiracy-esque on your part or what, but we'll get some more calls coming up. And also some news. The Congressional Budget Office has done a quick study of both Harry Reid's plan and John Boehner's plan. I will share those with you coming up. 700 WLW. Frank Marzullo, Fox 19, says you got sunny skies and a high of 92 this afternoon, partly cloudy, low 71 tonight, 81 now at 700 WLW. The guy just called and compared the post office to the military. I will give him that there is a little bit of a comparison in that neither one of them, I think his point was that we're supposed to make a profit, so we're not making money off them. I get what you're saying there. The problem is, we're losing money on the post office. I'm not talking about them not bringing in enough money so we can all, take that and put it somewhere else. It's that they're not running at a balance. They're running at a loss. We're losing money. And my fear is, because it's even been suggested by the president, that we are going to have to refund them. That we may have to do that down the road. I don't want it subsidized. And I don't like the fact that if I send a letter to the guy at the end of my street, they come by and pick it up, they take it to the post office, they direct it, the next day or whatever, it goes to the guy at the end of my street. for the same price that it takes me to mail a letter to Walla Walla, Washington. Why am I subsidizing the people who are mailing stuff further? That doesn't make any sense. If you go, like UPS or something like that, if I remember right, the times I've used it, the further you send it, the more it costs you. They have zones. So if you mail it from here to Lexington, it may be within one zone. You mail it here to Vegas, it's going to cost you more money. Doesn't that make sense? I know it's easier for them to just say it's one price and that's all great, but that's part of the problem. Subsidizing others. Maybe we should have our military out trying to make money, right? You end up in Saddam's palace. You're like, here we go. I got a stack of hundreds here, right? They end up with their own eBay page, hawking the stuff they found, right? I found 14 rubies, and I've got one of Saddam's sidearms. Start making some money. You sell that gun that killed Osama bin Laden. Who wants it? Have one of the auction houses put it up for sale. That may be the way to go. All right, let's go to Buck in Florida. You're on 700 WLW. What's going on in Florida?
Yeah, I'm a career employee at the post office. I'm a mail handler, a.k.a. unskilled laborer, but I make very good money and good benefits. And I was going to let you know, reason why the post offices are closing up in Ohio and this area up here, I'm on Interstate 71 going to Berea right now, Ohio. You're going to Berea? Yeah, I'm going to Berea for a track meet. The reason is a lot of good Northerners are moving to Florida, and we're not losing as many post offices as you guys are doing. And Pat Donahue took over, I called him Harry Potter because he was worthless. They're already going to start, if they do hire people, it's going to be part-time people. They've gotten rid of 110,000 people from retirement. They're not replacing them.
Yeah, attrition. And like I said, I gave them credit for doing that. I mean, doing what they had to do.
I think it's going to be smaller but more longer transportation because they buy the contract trucks that you see like on the back of the truck that says like Ohio to Toledo to Hamilton. It would be those are usually contract drivers. They make they buy themselves a job, but they get subsidized by the post office for their fuel and everything else. You got to remember the Treasury Department, the post office has $15 billion that they can take out at any time for loans. So they're still part of the government and everything else.
Let me ask you, as a postal employee, why the hell does a post office advertise?
There's really not needed to. And remember when we sponsored
the Olympic
Lance Armstrong?
Team. Yep, I know.
Yeah, I think we're in the car racing.
I know they advertise for some of those, specialty stamps that you can go and buy and keep, and they make some money off of those products. But really, if you look at their core product, you're advertising something that you have a monopoly on. How is that a good business choice? How is that a good decision? It doesn't seem like a good choice to me. It's a failed model. It's past its time. They're really not looking to the future. They've taken some good steps, but it's steps that they've been forced to take, not, vaulting the pack and looking 10 years down the road. A couple more of your calls coming up. I'm also going to tell you about the Nissan Leaf. They're looking for a plan for people who drive Nissan Leafs on how they can salute one another when they're driving down the road. Hello. I didn't realize it, but apparently that if you drive certain types of cars, you're supposed to give a little hello salute to other people who drive those cars. This is news to me. Have you ever heard of this with other cars? Well, the Nissan Leaf wants one. I'll give you the details next. 700 WL. Sloney and Tracy this afternoon. They continue to follow the NFL free agency and debt ceiling. Plus, it's Norwood Day at Coney Island. 355 700 WLW. Poor Norwood. I don't know what Norwood Day is. We'll see. The U.S. Postal Service custodian was charged with obstruction of mail after federal investigators discovered dozens of opened envelopes in his car and home. According to charging documents filed in U.S. District Court in Alexandria, Virginia, the postmark's date, 2005. For 6 years, he had mail in his possession. These stories come up on a regular basis. Remember the Seinfeld? Newman. where he has all that mail stuffed in his storage locker because he doesn't want to deliver it. Jerry helps him deliver it so he can get transferred. And they realized it wasn't Newman doing his route because he breached the 50% delivery mark, that he actually delivered 50% of it accurately. These stories, they happen a lot about people not delivering the mail, even though it's their job. I never would have believed it if I hadn't seen the stories come up all the time. And that's what Dan emailed me about, doc@700WLW.com. He said, Woodrow Wilson had mail confiscated during World War I. Your listener needs to study history. It's a great point. Jeff said, most of the mail that comes open is typically not sealed correctly or shredded by our machines. As far as opening the mail, postal inspector has the right to open suspicious mail. Yeah, I recognize the stuff that's torn open like that is torn because of the machines. But you're right. They do have the right to open up suspicious mail. So I think the guy was a little bit off, maybe putting a little too much credit in the government and attacking business a little bit too much. Paul and Anderson, how you doing?
Great. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing fine, sir.
All right. So I had a moment of brilliance listening to your show. We can solve the nation's problem.
Yes, sir.
By bringing back the Pony Express.
Think how many jobs you'd create.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have people to take care of those horses. You've got to help out the farmers by buying all that hay.
Yeah, you got to feed them, you got to house them, you got to care for them. The riders, of course, you'd have, their benefits and all of that, the people who have to support it. Pony Express might be the way to go, Paul.
Yeah, it's going to jumpstart the economy. I think we should get on board with it. 2012.
All I know, Paul, is if you want to protect the Pony Express, then you should stop using those damn cars.
Right? Exactly. I mean, that's going to help out reduce carbon emissions.
Well, you know what, Paul? That brings up a great point. If you're somebody who is kind of tied into this whole green idea and you believe, we got to cut our carbon footprint and all that, think how much is created by all of the traditional snail mail. They physically pick it up. That means somebody has to go there and do it. They're doing work. Then they drive it back to the post office, sometimes walking it, primarily driving it, though. Then it has to be, which of course is creating carbon and your fossil fuels and all of that. And even if it's not fossil fuels, even if it's more green, you're wasting energy. Then it has to be sorted with those big machines. They're taking up electricity. Then after it's sorted, depending on where it's going, it's put on other transportation devices. Airplanes, trains, buses, or semis, and shipped all over. Then it gets sorted again, and then it has to go to the address and be delivered with fossil fuels there. And it starts off as paper. You're killing trees. You're putting chemicals together to form ink to print on that paper. How's that good for the environment? Whereas I can just simply type out an email, bink, and send it along. Yes, it requires electricity, but far less. So I can't believe the green movement hasn't gotten behind this thing. All right, help me out here. One time in my life, I heard a guy tell me something that I thought was just him being crazy. This is a guy I worked with in Cleveland. His name is Chip. I worked with him at a radio station up there. Good guy, but, well, he was a little nutty about some things. And he had I think it was an RX-7, Mazda RX-7. Loved the car. He did. And he said that something I remember in passing one time about how he'll give a little nod or tip of the hat or something to other RX-7 drivers. And we're like, what? We thought he was just being nutty. That's the only time I've heard of this. But apparently, according to some things I read online this morning, that if you drive certain types of cars, it's very common for other people driving the same type of car to give you a little recognition on the roadway, a little flash of the lights, toot of the horn, wave of the hand, something that says, you got a car like mine. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. I mean, I'm not walking down the street going, you got jeans like mine. Way to go. Thumbs up. You're wearing shoes like me. Excellent. We're both at McDonald's. Howdy ho. Right? You're not doing that with other stuff. But according to this, they said that there are certain types of cars like Jeep Wranglers people do that with, Corvettes, and Volkswagen Beetle drivers. Okay, Beetles and Corvettes, those are a little more rare, a little more special, wouldn't you say? Or unique, something about them. So I could see that. Jeep Wranglers are fairly common. Well, now the Nissan Leaf drivers, they're getting on this thing. If you have a car and you do this, please let me know. 513-749-7800, the big one, pound 700 at AT&T. Aside from my nutty friend Chip, I have never heard of this. I have never taken part in it. Nobody has given me a little tip of the hat for driving the very average cars I drive. When I had a Chevy Beretta back in the day, there wasn't anybody going, Chevy Beretta driver, rock and roll, how you doing? Howdy ho. Nor did I. I was just like, okay, that's all you could afford too. Great. I mean, maybe if I was driving a Bentley or something, I'd be like, hello, I can afford an expensive car too. Not so much. As if I follow this trend, though, where I'm supposed to be waving at people that drive similar cars, I guess I would be driving or waving quite a bit in that I drive a Camry, a Toyota Camry. Isn't that the most common car sold right now, or one of the most common? I'd be waving all the time. Hey, what's going on? Hey. Should it just be the same color as mine then? Kind of narrow it down? How about if I say, if I see a car that is as banged up, in horrible shape, with cracked windshield, 10-year-old, black Toyota Camry, that I just wave at them? That'd narrow it down a little bit, huh? The Nissan Leaf drivers are very serious about this, and they have a Facebook page, and they're looking for suggestions on what they should do if they see another Nissan Leaf out there. Here are some of the suggestions that people have. Miles Roughcut, sounds like an alias. Miles suggested that he honks and waves with both hands. Oh my golly, another Leaf driver! Oh! This is secretly Nick from Loveland. I just know it. And if it's not, I just know that's how Nick waves. It's a vip, vip, oh, flailing about his arm. Melissa said, as far as I know, there are only a couple of us in my state, Oklahoma. I'd love to see more Leaf drivers on the road. Angie said, we just typically honk. Lee said there's a lot in Portland, Oregon, and I asked this very question last week. I've been sending thumbs up out the window with my arm, giving the little thumbs up. So according to Lee, rolls down the window, thumbs up. Hey, Leaf driver! Debbie said, I've only seen about 4 here in Los Angeles, apart from mine, and a few of those were parked being charged. I'll wave and honk like mad if I ever have eye contact with another Leaf owner. I think the wave should be accompanied by some sort of self-satisfied smirk. Don said nothing tops the old school peace sign. The more it's used, the better the world is. That's very nice, Don. Excellent. Maggie said some of those signs, very good point Maggie posted. She said some of those signs could be seriously misunderstood. A thumbs up seems to be a little bit safer in America, but I can't say for other cultures. You know, just she's wanting to be culturally aware and sensitive there. George said, how about some sort of Leaf iPhone app to show nearby passing Nissan Leaf owners? Let's see. Kristen said, I've yet to see a fellow Leaf driver on the road. I'd probably do the honking and frantically flailing both arms as well. Some people are giving a little turned three-finger extension to make an E and then a V for electric vehicle. That's theirs. EV, it's a hard transition to make. Here's what I've been doing. Because these are the green nuts, these are the green extremists, the green Nazis. When I do pass a Leaf driver on the side of the road who has run out of electricity and there's no charging station nearby, I give them a little one-finger salute to show that we're all one. We are all part of the American culture. So I just, hey! A little one-finger salute is there on the side of the road. Doc Thompson, 700 WLW. You know, here it is. I'm trying to do something nice by telling those Leaf drivers that we're all one regardless of car they're driving by giving them just a number one out the window. One finger salute. And people send me emails chastising me. Try to do the right thing, and you're misunderstood. It's very sad. Very skeptical and cynical society we live in. Tim Colerain, you're on 700 WLW.
Hey, how you doing, Doc?
How are you, sir? Do you drive a Jeep?
I do.
And is there a wave for Jeep drivers?
There is, and there's actually a protocol for that wave as well.
Do tell.
Well, if you drive, let's just say, for instance, you drive a brand new Jeep Wrangler.
Right.
If you pass a Jeep, an old Jeep, even like a CJ style Jeep from, early 70s, 60s, 50s, whatever it is, the newer Jeep is supposed to wave to the driver of the older Jeep first as a sign of respect.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like the military. Who salutes first, right?
In a way, yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What if you're both driving a similar vehicle?
If you're both driving a similar vehicle, it's whoever gets the nod first.
I understand. Now, I know, Tim, if I let somebody in traffic, I let them get in. If I don't get the obligatory little "hey, thank you" wave just up in the air like that, I'm pretty ticked off.
I understand.
Is there some, is that a source of tension if they don't, give you the little hidey ho?
Absolutely. It's a sign of disrespect if they don't at least wave back in some fashion.
People disrespecting you out on the road and you're driving the Jeep.
Exactly.
I can understand that being pretty upset. The only, like I said, if I don't get the obligatory wave for letting somebody in, I can understand that. You're like, what? You're disrespect. That's a good way to put it. I got a bunch of other people that drive different type of cars that want to comment on them. Let me get a quick break. I'll take those calls, and then I'll also give you some of the some alternate names for fuel-efficient vehicles or the green vehicles coming up on the big one, 700 WLW. Doc Thompson, 700 WLW. John in Milford. All right, are you a Corvette driver, or have you been a Corvette driver?
I am a Corvette driver.
And is there a little hidey ho?
We just normally, no matter what year Corvette you drive, we always just wave at people when we pass them.
And it's just a general acknowledgement. There's not a certain type of wave.
No.
See, that's what they're battling out with the Nissan Leaf.
Yeah.
Actually, it sounds like you're calling from a Nissan Leaf.
No, I would never drive a foreign car. I retired from an American auto plant.
I understand that. Yeah, it might just be the connection or whatever. All right, so it is for Corvette drivers. But it's not a certain type of wave. Again, RX-7 was the only one I heard, and I thought he was just nutty. Tom on a cell, how are you?
Hey, Doc. I have heard of the car recognition call, but I'm not an active participant in the automotive gang sign collective, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The one I got hit with a couple months ago, though, was I was at a client's house for work, and I'm leaving. I had my computer bag on my shoulder, and she made some comment about my Timbs. And I had no idea what she was talking about. There's this little T symbol or something on the clasp of my bag. So I asked her again. She said, "Your Timbs." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Your Timberlands, your shoes." And she went on a 5-minute discourse. She went on a 5-minute discourse about how her family believes in Timberlands, that she can recognize Timberlands a mile away. I'd never heard them called Timbs before.
Wow. Well, you're not hip, Tom. You're not hip down with the Tim. Although there's another product like that, Mac users. Mac users, it's like a cult. Well, I guess I told you Ohio's a cult. We do that. We recognize Ohioans out and about. I guess there are some similarities. I didn't know for a product, though. But Mac, sure enough, I had another radio guy I worked with used a Mac. Early on when they started becoming popular again, I mean, back in the day, the Apples were Apple, like 2Es and that in the 80s were popular. Then when it became real popular again, all of his emails were, "I'm a Mac user. It's the greatest thing on the planet." Just craziness. Yeah, Macs are great. I like them, but I'm not going to promote them like that. All right, the Nissan Leaf, I always thought was such a silly name. Even if it was a car I wanted, even though I loved the way it looked, it was cheap. Just the Nissan Leaf just sounds so silly. So I've come up with some other possible green car names. Well, you've got GM and Chrysler and some of the other ones that are really trying to turn it around. Maybe it comes down to these electric vehicles. And coming up with some good names like the Twig or the Compost Heap. How about the Roach or the Shroom? These all sound very earthy, right? How about the Chevy Fun Guy? Because if you're driving a Chevy Fun Guy, you're a fun guy. I mean, see, there's lots of things you can do with the advertising. The Bark, the Meadow, or the Whiz. Some other green car names, the Swindle. How about the Rainbow? You go with the Toyota Rainbow. I think Nick would probably be driving that, and that saves him from putting another bumper sticker on the car. How about the Pothole or the Con? The Algae. Algae is a basic substance on Earth that, helps us all. It's part of the food chain. The Mold. Introducing the new Mercury Mold. Shouldn't we really, if you're green, shouldn't we get rid of the name Mercury altogether? Oh, that's right. It's not all that bad because it's still in the light bulbs. How about the GM Bamboozle? Or the Dupe? The all-new 2011 Dodge Dupe. All possible green car names. I may take some other ones down the road. I'll put them up on my Facebook page as well as my blog at 700WLW.com if you want to run down those. Doc Thompson on the home of the Reds, 700 WLW.